So hello everybody, welcome to another video. Today we're not going to be talking about Heart of Thorn stuff just about. We will be talking about something you can do to Guild Wars 2 though that I've been looking into today. Came out about 2 months or so ago. This is something called GemFX. Now some of you watching this video immediately will gather what this could be about, especially given that footage from the sandstorm a second ago. But GemFX is basically another version or upgrade, if you will, to SweetFX. Now if you've never heard of SweetFX before, it's a third-party injector that you can download, drop a couple of files in your Guild Wars 2 install directory, and as simple as that, the next time you go in-game, it will accentuate many of the colors, it will attempt to apply some nice pretty filters, and generally just make Guild Wars 2 look better. Most of my videos over the past 12 months at the very least have been videos created using SweetFX. The game, it looks completely dull and boring to me when I take these files out and uninstall it now. So it's pretty much just a staple of how I play Guild Wars 2. I did do a video on SweetFX once long ago. There is always this discussion, some of you guys as well, entirely new to this, will be incredibly skeptical straight away and say, what, a third-party thing you're downloading from some website that you're putting in your folder for your MMO? Oh, it could be a keylogger, oh, it could get you banned. SweetFX was none of those things. GemFX is none of those things either. This is definitely in the category of one of those things ArenaNet appreciate people use. They know that people use SweetFX at the very least. All it is a visual change to the game. Doesn't really give anyone any benefits whatsoever. It is not the kind of thing you can get banned for using. Well, so a couple of months ago, SweetFX is a tool that people use for many different games for what it's worth. It just works very well with Guild Wars 2, and there's a pretty big community of people who make different presets using it. So a few months ago, someone came along on a totally different forum and said, hey, I've made GemFX, Gem standing for Graphics Enhancement Modification, I believe, and they said, basically what I've done is I've taken SweetFX, everything that SweetFX is, all of its capabilities are included in my thing, except on top of SweetFX, basically I added a whole bunch of new stuff and new ways that you can manipulate and change the way that your games look. So GemFX is basically SweetFX, it's just an upgrade. And so I've seen a couple of threads about it over the past couple of months, some people talking about they've got it looking, but it hasn't super caught on. Because it hasn't super caught on, I think a lot of the examples people give of them using GemFX can be kind of ugly, honestly. The way that these things work, SweetFX and GemFX, you can change any number of things. You can decide exactly how much saturation you want on the image. You can decide exactly how much contrast you want there. You can decide exactly how much weighting of one specific thing is towards one color rather than another. You get an incredible amount of control. And what people do with Guild Wars 2, because SweetFX has been a big part of this community, is they toggle all of these to their liking. They'll create a specific aesthetic. Maybe it's incredibly garish and oversaturated to one person's eyes, but to another person this thing looks awesome, and so they'll create these presets and you can download and toggle with any presets you like. You can create a really realistic one that only produces a very subtle effect. You can get one that tries to accentuate as many details as possible. Maybe I'll throw some screenshots up that I found online of an example of this, or maybe you want to find one that makes the game look incredibly high fantasy and full of high color, or maybe you want to make the game look super noirish, whatever, right? There, people create different presets for this stuff. And so GemFX is kind of new, and because not many people are using it, the presets out there are a little lackluster. The things people are showing can be a bit exaggerated, can look a bit naff. Well, I wanted to do a video specifically on it because I've been playing with it today to talk you guys through exactly what this thing can do. That footage at the start of the video isn't necessarily a preset I'd recommend anyone use. It looks pretty horrible for the base game. However, I was lucky enough to log into a dry top sandstorm, and damn, didn't that look good there? So here what you guys should be seeing straight away is the GemFX threads. There will be a link in the description to this. I'm going to talk to you guys exactly how to install this thing. It's very simple. Basically, you want to come to this thread. I would recommend reading as much information as you can, as with anything like this. But what you're going to want to do eventually is come to download and installation, click show, and grab GemFX here. This will download GemFX, as you can see where my cursor is right now. And unlike, and this annoys me a little bit, unlike SweetFX, which is just an archive and you drag and drop some files in, this is in fact an installer. So I will run this installer to show you guys how this looks here. And basically once the installer comes up, it's going to ask you where exactly you want to install it to, like what game you want to go to. So you're going to hit browse and just find your Guild Wars 2 folder, which should be on your local disk, and then in program files, and here you can see I've got my Guild Wars 2 here. And you're just going to want to install it in the bin folder that appears here. Don't just install it in regular Guild Wars 2. Click bin and install it in there. Guild Wars 2 was a bit weird. It broke SweetFX a little while ago. And so the way to just get around these issues is just install it into the Guild Wars 2 bin folder. That's all you have to do. For those of you who are already users of SweetFX, because GemFX already includes everything that SweetFX has, here's my installation folder here now, my directory, and it's got a lot of stuff in it that you guys won't have because of immersive combat mode. But if you already use SweetFX, you want to just delete those files out of your directory before you install GemFX. That's it. It's as basic as that. So you want to get rid of the D3, D9.dll, the DXGI.dll, the injector, and all that other stuff that SweetFX has got. So yeah, you want to install it into your bin, really, and it will end up looking something like this. Once you've got that, the next time, immediately this should take effect, the next time you load up Guild Wars 2, Guild Wars 2 will be looking very differently, and that's because it will be using the initial stuff that GemFX is configured to toggle on, and this is going to look really garish, really ugly, and I mean, if you like it, sure, you can play like that, but it's going to get very messy. Guild Wars 2 is a messy game at the best of times, so that's just going to exacerbate that problem 10 times. So what I recommend you guys do is, now when you look in your bin folder, you'll find this thing here called the GemFX configurator, and when you double click this, you will find this window pops up, which gives you a bunch of options. Now, this is going to look really intimidating straight away. It's actually not at all. So I'll talk you guys through what these options do, and there'll be footage rolling up showing you guys exactly how these affect the game. I sort of fiddled with a few boxes at a time, loaded the game up, and then saw exactly how it affected things. So first and foremost, you'll notice right up at the top here, we've got GemFX and we've got SweetFX. So if you click the SweetFX tab, everything's going to change here, and these will just be your original SweetFX settings. So all that configuration, all that stuff that already existed for SweetFX can all still be done right here. So it is basically a complete replacement for SweetFX, and all those old presets for SweetFX that maybe you liked for Guild Wars 2 before can still be loaded. If you come over here to the GemFX tab, you'll notice over here it says File Management, and here you can import any SweetFX configuration you like. See, SweetFX File Manager, it's all the same format, everything's the same. So all those other websites like the SweetFX library and so on that already exist for Guild Wars 2, if you've already got your favorite SweetFX setting, you can just import those straight away. And if you're totally new to all of this, then you don't have to worry about that at all. You can find your own thing that you enjoy. So it really is quite good in the amount of customization it offers you and the options that are here. So anyway, that's this tab. This is just all the SweetFX stuff. I'm not going to talk about that. This isn't a video on SweetFX. It's a video on GemFX. So again, why are we using GemFX now? Well, GemFX added a bunch of new stuff that can pretty much be summarized on this screen here. If we go over to general. So first of all, you just get to select your basic shader for the game. So they've got no shader at all if you want. You've got the realistic shader or the true color. I've stuck on true color. You can play around with these if you like. One thing that's really cool about GemFX is whenever you hover over one of these options, you'll see this box down here is actually a little bit of help for you, and it will describe in loose terms what each option is supposed to do. So no gem shader here, it says applies no gem specific base shader, and then you'd only really get the SweetFX stuff, which is fine. Or you can have the realistic shader if you like, with a realistic look, or a true color, which is supposed to be more colorful. And again, this will come down to taste. I like the game to look a bit more vibrant, a bit more colorful, so it always made sense for me to just stick with true color. Over here on the right is pretty much entirely ignorable. These aren't even enableable options for me, so I haven't worried about these even slightly. Down here, they have a setting that would that says bypass UI, and at the bottom here it says bypasses the UI of games when enabled. So the idea here is, if you think about that sandstorm footage I was showing you guys, everything's very thick, and all of a sudden it might be quite hard to see stuff in your inventory and read text. You know, this is where the game becomes unplayable. Well, in theory, this option will then mean the shaders only apply to the game itself rather than the UI, and that's a very exciting prospect, but they do say that it basically only works for one game at the moment, so that doesn't really need to be anything we consider for Guild Wars 2. 64-bit, it's not a 64-bit application anyway. Compatibility mode shouldn't be necessary. I can't imagine why it would for other people, but if you have problems, maybe you can toggle this on. And bypass anti-aliasing isn't available either. Here you can select your FXAA. And I don't know whether you'd like to use this at all. You can say no and use it just in your graphics control panel. It depends how hands-on you guys are with this kind of stuff in the game before, trying to optimize the game, make it look good. But if you've never really fiddled about with that, the default is just to use 1 times, which means it will apply it to the original image and that's it. If you use it 2, then it will do it twice, essentially give you a better look, but at the cost of frames. That's an interesting discussion as well. This has cost me 0 FPS hit whatsoever, just like the original Sweet FX cost me no frame hit at all. The main reason why you might not be hitting 60 FPS in Guild Wars 2 is because of CPU bound issues. Usually your GPU's got a lot more mileage left in it, and GemFX will be stressing your GPU rather than your CPU. So if you guys are still with me, pretty much you can run this, and I don't think many of us should have big FPS hits, but that could totally happen. Okay, so that's all this side of the screen here, which we can ignore. Sweet effects stuff we can ignore. So here's the new things. Now, each of these tabs up here, basic shader, additional shader, film grain, lighting, dirt lens, motion blur, and file management. File management allows you to mess around with presets. But all these other ones are just allowing you to more finely toggle the different core features available in GemFX. And these things here that I'm now mousing around, these are the core features that they have added. This is what GemFX has that SweetFX doesn't necessarily have. And so we've got some very loose terms here. We've got blur, we've got clear vision, we've got DaVinci, we've got HBO, motion blur, Gaussian, film grain, ambient light, dirt lens, natural light, God rays, anamorphic flares, lens flares, and AL vibrance. So what do these all do? Like, most of them are going to be enabled on by default. So let's just turn these things off. Blur, first of all, I guess I'll show you guys this. It says at the bottom, this allows you to activate a pseudo depth of field effect to the image when pressing K. So pretty much you don't want this. People have been posting GemFX configurations and stuff with blur on. Why? Why would you ever want this? This is just something, and you should see some footage of it right now, where as you're running around in game, if you press K, which already isn't ideal because you might have bound K to something else, it's going to add this really, really thick effect to the screen. Probably quite good for machinimas, probably quite good while, say, you're viewing a Vista or something, but mostly this isn't something any of us are going to want, not for regular gameplay. That's why it's not even permanently on. It's a toggle with K even once you've got GemFX on. And all of GemFX itself, by the way, can be toggled at any time with just F9. You don't have to launch the game in a different way to use this tool or anything. You just play Guild Wars 2 and it all loads on for you. So, yeah, this is pretty much something we can ignore. I did try to sort of get a bit of a vista of Divinity's reach on Natalie and kind of show you guys, maybe get this tilt-shift effect going on a little bit. But overall, we can ignore blur. So this is the top left option, not really necessary. Gaussian, this is just going to apply a Gaussian blur to the entire image. So it's not really going to react to specific areas in game or do anything great, except just take away some jaggies perhaps, maybe make everything look a bit smoother. But essentially, if you've got if you're playing on a high resolution, if you have anti-aliasing on, if you're using FXAA over here, I don't think the Gaussian is really necessary. You should be seeing some footage, though, in the background of me running the Gaussian. And, yeah, in general, I don't think it's necessarily worth it. A lot of people have been saying with GemFX, oh, it looks okay, but it kind of makes games look like, you know, those old convention footage we used to get, where people would have cameras pointed at monitors, and then you'd get this weird artifacting. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's okay. The big other blur option we have is down here. This is motion blur. Adds streaking of rapidly moving objects. Now, motion blur is going to be something people have their personal opinions on anyway. I would say it doesn't look good. GemFX's, I don't like it very much at all. Again, you should be seeing some footage of me in Heart of the Mist with all the blurs on, both Gaussian and motion blur, and it feels kind of laggy and sluggish, and you just lose a bit too much definition. I don't like the motion blur either, so that's kind of those three options out the window for me, except maybe Gaussian. But with the FXAA over here, I think we're fine. So, clear vision, this I couldn't really figure out exactly what it did. I don't really even have any footage. It says that apparently it disables artificial details which are introduced, activated with the true color or realistic filters, or base shaders, and that's these up here. So, you're probably going to be using either realistic or true color, so they're going to be there. I guess the idea is this would just give you a bit more clarity. You could toggle it on if you like. Down here we get one called DaVinci. Now, some people have been posting GemFX images that seem to have a lot more detail in them. They seem to be popping a lot more. This is probably because of DaVinci. Here it says, adds an effect to the true color and realistic base shader, which makes the image look like a painting works well with the sudo SSAO. So you guys should see some footage of this right now. Now, I think, yes, it does give you a bit more detail, but it also is very specifically trying to give you this painterly feel, something Guild Wars 2 also tries to do, so maybe you feel it complements the look a lot. In particular, pay attention to when I'm showing you guys the UI as I toggle it on and off. You'll see that a lot more clarity does come in certain areas, but it's also very thick, and it could take away from a lot of other things, so I don't actually think I'll use DaVinci at all, but this is kind of like a really cheapy way to feel like you're going to get a bunch more, like, definition on your image, or at least that's what I felt like when I was using it. Next, we've got film grain over here on the right. And so this says it applies a film grain to the image. Again, this isn't something we really want, I would say, as players. I mean, if you want it to feel super cinematic, I suppose you can. But this is basically just adding like a thin layer of grain and mess, I guess, over the whole screen. And this is, again, why some of them can look kind of messy and janky. I wouldn't use film grain myself. And now lastly, we've got this box here. This is ambient light. Now, by enabling this, we enable a bunch of these other options too. So this adds ambient light to the image. Basically, GemFX has like its own engine for seeing where light is in-game, and then it can add its own effects on top. This is where GemFX gets really exciting, and I'm going to end the video showing you guys what this is capable of doing. First of all, Dirt Lens will just add like literally dirt onto the screen. Again, not something I think many of us want. It was good in the Sandstorm though. God Rays, these are very exciting, but unfortunately they do not work with DirectX 9 games. Guild Wars 2 is a DirectX 9 game. It does say in the description it doesn't work yet for DX9, so there could be an update in the future that gives God Rays. God Rays excite me very much. My time modding Oblivion and adding like EMB series and stuff to Oblivion for God Rays always used to wow me. ArenaNet fake God Rays constantly in Guild Wars 2. You're going to see it in the footage. Basically, I'm going to show you guys Sharkmoor Caverns, and you can see, like, you know, if they ever had like a big pillar of light shining down from a hole in the roof of a cave or something, that's them like trying to fake God Rays. Real God Rays can look gorgeous shining through trees and so forth, but this doesn't work for Guild Wars 2, so you can always have this off. But let's look at these last ones here as well. Lens flares and AL vibrance. So these are both effects that will sort of apply cool looking stuff to your screen when you are in an area with a lot of light. So if you're in game, for example, and you walk next to a fireplace, you'll actually see GemFX puts like some extra lighting on the screen, lens flare over the screen, that does look pretty good in my opinion. The other one, that's the lens flares. The AL vibrance as well is, say you're in a dark area and you see like there's a really lit up patch of grass somewhere, as you will see in the footage. That really lit up patch of grass will be significantly glowing. And basically what these two effects do is they are quite a treat, a real visual treat to be wandering around in Guild Wars 2. So check out the footage of me doing Sharkmoors wandering around in Lion's Arch on my Necromancer, and pay close attention to these lens flares coming on the screen when they come on the screen, and also how vibrant some of the light looks, particularly as well towards the end of the footage. You should get a taste for whether you like this or not. Towards the end of the footage will be me leaving Sharkmoor Caverns, which is a dark environment, going back out into sunny outside of Lion's Arch, and the effect is far more pronounced than anything I've ever experienced in Guild Wars 2 before. The light seriously shines through the crack in the distance, and the sun is, I wouldn't say totally blinding, and it ruins the experience, but it feels very, very good. Just because of these ambient light effects alone, it means that I probably will be running GemFX. I'll probably load my Sweet Effects stuff back in and have that all as normal, all the coloring and stuff that I liked from before as normal, and sort of just enable these, perhaps Gaussian, perhaps Clear Vision. But that stuff alone, I think, makes GemFX really, really cool. And I've been having a lot of fun playing around with stuff. Again, guys, the customization is nuts. These are just the core features. You can then go in and customize them. So say you did want Dirt Lens on. Look at this. Oh, you can select all the different textures that maybe you'd like. You can say exactly how visible it is. You you've got these checkboxes, you can add scratches to the textures, adaptive. There's all kinds of stuff, okay? Each one of these settings has a ton of different things you can play around with. And I'm happy to talk about this. Hopefully some people come up with some really, really cool presets, can start sharing them around, and maybe I'll even be able to display some in a few videos in the future. But I thought I'd talk to you guys about it. That's GemFX for you. Enjoy the footage as it rolls through, and I guess I will see you tomorrow, which is Tuesday, which could be a patch. I'll see you tomorrow.